I'm an art activist. A lot of my work has to do with feminism, human rights. I like to think about politics and kind of what's going on in our education system. As a student and a teacher, I think about how can we use art to communicate ideas and messages and concepts that are very relevant and contemporary. Lansing Artworks is an art collective, a group, an organization, a consciousness. I got started, I would officially put a date, November of 2011, and that was our first meeting. We just started talking about initial ideas. We didn't even have a name back then. That meeting, we just laid out everything we wanted to do, whether it was music events, art exhibitions, community involvement. How are we going to accomplish these things? So we just kind of all brought in our different backgrounds and our resources and just were plotting everything out. The screen printing was our first event, and we have a few screen printers in the group that wanted to put on a workshop, and I don't have a lot of screen printing experience. I've done a couple, but nothing that I could really lead a workshop on, but I definitely had a lot of ideas about what I wanted to print. We have a logo, so we did some of our own work. I did a Free Pussy Riot print, so I talked about that, and we talked about the process, the technique, and kind of what prints mean and the historical impact that they've had. We kind of had a roundtable discussion. We look at prints from the 60s and 70s and the hippie movement and kind of all these political posters and riot posters and protest posters and how they can just be easily really tacked up on the wall. And this accessibility, it's so easy to do a print, inexpensive, you can do it on a piece of paper, hand it out on the street, whatever. So it's also this kind of street art. And then everyone probably made between 5 and 10 prints and they can take home. We each have different roles. I put myself as like kind of creative director, artist of the group. So I just like make sure everything's kind of in line a little bit. Luke Hackney is the general manager. He is a professional in the community. I think Holly got on board next, and Taylor was after that, and I think Ethan was after that. Taylor's secretary, kind of outreach. Ethan and Holly are event and music planner and arts planner. And that's a five-person board. I think the group collective makes it a lot easier to get things done. You divvy out responsibility. It's just like, okay, I don't have to worry about that. Like, I'll see you at the show.
The end result, which is usually not that difficult, the process of getting to here is pretty difficult. So basically what you have to do is you have to take the screen and you have to...
Part of a collective is having different backgrounds, people that are interested in different things, writers, photographers, musicians, artists, activists, teachers, professors. I mean, anyone really adds something, another element to the project, to the idea, to the consciousness. With contemporary art and artists that are living today, what they do is they take a lot of history and they bring it to the present, and I think that's one way that we can really think about messages. A lot of art that I like to look at is controversial art. Artists like that are very influential to me because they're exposing me to something I wouldn't have been able to see otherwise. You look at these contemporary installations and a room could be full of just desks with this American flag, your typical like Liberty posters, and just thinking about kind of our typical American classroom and how it's really changing right now. I think with art and with contemporary art is that they're really touching and they're thinking about these things, these topics, and these social issues, and they make us think about them in a more critical way. And that's what art does. It makes us think more critically and analytically about very present situations. And we can do that through all different types of art mediums and forms, methods, practices. And it becomes a really safe space to talk about these things because you can do it in a really relaxed atmosphere where you're just talking with your peers. It's really about getting out there and inviting people to join you on this kind of journey. You're together and you're working towards something greater than yourself.